The Codex of Uncertainty Transposed. Part 47. Uncertainty, Our Spirit. Brazil. Transposing emblem by Owen Allen Carr. Brazil is by far the most populous country in Latin America and the largest one in the southern hemisphere, only slightly smaller than the United States. We have the world's largest rainforest, the largest tropical wetlands, the largest waterfall system and the greatest biodiversity as well. And, above all, we have the eighth largest economy in the world. Yet occupy a shameful 75th place in the Human Development Index. Since 2001 Brazil has been struggling to successfully be one of the world's strongest emerging countries. Nonetheless, we faced the worst recession in our history in 2013. And 1 year after it, we had over 14 million unemployed citizens. If you compare it to the American recession in 2008 to 2010, when the United States lost about 8 million jobs, you can get the magnitude of our crisis. 15 million citizens live in extreme poverty, and 62% of Brazilian families are in debt. Besides that, Brazilian public services are broke, which is a tragedy in a country where there is a 34% tax rate, and people rely on public services in return. In 2016, 4 to 8 million protested against corruption, in a march which numbers show to be the largest in our history. Even though we are very slowly emerging from the economic crisis, most people cannot see much improvement. Since it also began with astonishing and ongoing political corruption scandals, we are still immersed in endless disappointment that messes with our minds. The combination of the economic crisis and this strong feeling of disappointment lead us to this moment of distrust and uncertainty. These confusing times have made me think about the difference between risk and uncertainty. In risk we acknowledge some future possibilities. We are not sure of the probabilities, but we may expect changes by choosing one future to trust. In uncertainty we are not aware of any future possibilities. We cannot predict the future and we cannot expect changes. We don't even identify which option we might have. There's no trust. Just doubt. We simply don't know. Sadly, that is our case. At this historical moment of uncertainty, the National Museum of Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, was engulfed by flames and burned to ashes on September 2, 2018. This tragedy happened on its 200th anniversary, on the same day and in the same place where Brazil's independence was proclaimed. In those buildings, not only did the women announce Brazil's independence, but our first constitution protecting individual rights was written. It was also the location where our first national constituent assembly took place. It was built to become the most important museum in Latin America, with more than 20 million artifacts. In its collection there were some artifacts more than 160 million years old. The museum, the oldest human fossil ever found on the American continent, was about 12,000 years old. Despite all that, we forgot to celebrate the museum and our history. We didn't study against, we didn't notice the scientific discoveries, the art collection or the historical documents. We didn't care. That was supposed to be the government's responsibility, and now 90% of the collection is gone, consumed by fire. The loss of a great national museum is a global tragedy. A tragedy that for us, Brazilians, is a symbol of our lack of vision. This fire is a symbol of our knowledge and disregard for information and skills acquired through experience or education over the years. The result is the burden of uncertainty. Brazilians are in grief, but there are still no signs of change. We are stuck in a time of uncertainty, hoping that anger doesn't take over the country. It already seemed like too much to handle, but, suddenly, it wasn't enough. The country's most popular politician, a former far-left president, is already in jail for corruption and money laundering and couldn't run again in the election we just had. The far-right president Kennedy Cohen was stabbed in the stomach during a campaign rally. Now the polarized environment may be exacerbated even more. It is painful and our democracy is being tested. It must prove its gains against corruption and all the losses in debates. Now here we are. Controlled by an emotional mindset that keeps us confused during the economic, political and moral crisis that we face. I wonder if human psychology will drive the country. It does look like we don't know how to behave to achieve that progressive mindset we once had. We are not able to recognize ourselves anymore, since we are slowly becoming unfamiliar with our nation's history and identity. Maybe our so-called lust for life has distracted us. We deny our own identity as if we could choose to be someone else. As if we could be anyone but ourselves, as if we could run away and emigrate. Nowadays, 62% of our youth wishes to emigrate. But what does this failure vision tell us? If we don't know our history, we don't know what we are made of. If we don't know what we are made of, we don't know who we are. If we don't know who we are, we don't know who to become. We must overcome this ignorance to vanquish uncertainty. Nelson Rodrigues, a famous Brazilian writer once complained: O brasileiro é um narciso às vezes que cuspe na própria imagem. Mas é verdade, não encontramos pretextos pessoais ou históricos para autoestima. But the truth is, we have not even looked for those reasons for quite a long time. We have no other choice than to work to rebuild our lives in our nation. Despite this mindset despair that drives us to anger and blinds us completely. We may have elapsed in confidence, but we are still the fourth largest democracy on the planet, and 97% of our children are in school. So we could try to remember our past and learn from our history to create a better present and work towards a better future. It is up to us to renounce this skills and trust. Enough with uncertainty. But we are not there yet. For now, I'll quote a song by Gilberto Gil that exemplifies the current spirit. Não me que um pedaço de tabu e boia sobre as águas, sem destino nenhum.